Hey guys, welcome back. In this video we got a cool Vienna game, bishops opening, and we're going to see some really interesting ideas that I haven't seen come up in any of the books that I've read on the Vienna. So without further ado, we're going to get into E4 and get into our typical Vienna setup here. Now, white is delaying playing the knight to f3 because white prefers to play f4 about as soon as possible here. At least so I thought. And after d3 here, black goes ahead and castles. The correct move here in this system is actually knight to f3 right now. I go ahead and play f4 right away, and already this is a pretty big swing in black's favor, as black can just get his normal development here. But after knight c6, typical idea is that you're going to want to get rid of white's light squared bishop there. And okay, so now we get the knight out to f3, and now the knight's coming into g4, which is something that you frequently can see when you're playing this Vienna style. Now, this isn't necessarily the right way for black to go. Better moves for black were probably still d6 or knight to a5. And I thought for quite a while here, and I ended up going with rook to f1, but significantly better is just queen to e2. And one of the reasons that queen to e2 would have been better is because black would have to play the knight in immediately, and it also guards against the dark squared bishop coming to e3, supported by the knight, and threatening pieces in here. So queen to e2 would have been much better here, and rather than pushing the issue over here with e takes f4, or driving the knight into d4, building up pressure on the knight here, he decides to go bishop hunting. And this ends up being completely giving the advantage back to me. And in situations like this, it's okay sometimes in the Vienna for white to simply allow the knight to capture the bishop on c4, and then to just take back with d3 and have these sort of Maraxi bind pawn structures preventing black from playing d5 in one fell swoop and having to set it up first with c6. So I go ahead and I ignore this because I really want to get that knight out. Now, in this situation, what black is supposed to find is knight to e3, forking the queen and the rook, forcing white to take with his bishop, and now black has the bishop pair. Even with all of that going on, it's still an even game. White's not losing by any stretch of the imagination. Just what black should do here. So if you're a black player playing against this, and this is a great idea for you, he goes ahead and takes the bishop. Now, should I take that knight? Should I take the c4 knight, or should I take the g4 knight? There's a fairly significant difference in the eval here, which one you're supposed to take first, and I chose correctly, and I went and played d takes c4 first. This knight still under pressure, and now this is his last chance to play it into knight e3, and he doesn't. He retreats it back, and that knight e3 move, kind of hard to see, but I feel my opponent, 1654, he might have seen that. He hadn't used that much time on his clock, but he was slightly behind compared to me. And now at this point, believe it or not, I myself having misplayed the opening to an extent, the f4 push was premature and allowed quite the initiative and the advantage to swing over to black. Now all of a sudden what we have here is we have a situation where white is so far ahead in development. 6 pieces developed compared to only 3 for black. He's not castled, but okay. And he's going to go up a pawn with a threat on a piece that has to be responded to. And rather than playing the knight back to e8, he puts it out over on the rim. So now it's time for us to go bishop hunting. And then what do you play here if you are, what do you play here if you're white? How do you save everything? Well, there's a couple ways to do it, and this is one of the better ones. Now, black here decides not to take. If black takes, then I take back with the knight, and I'm up a pawn. My rook is open. My pawn is coming to g4. It's going to start wreaking havoc on that knight. My bishop is going to find scope. There's all these juicy dark squares open for me with the bishop. So he correctly determines that he shouldn't trade queens. However, he doesn't find the best square to put the queen. So spoiler alert, you already know that he went ahead and just found a check. He thought about this move for 6 seconds. He just went and found a check. If you're not going to take the queen, where do you put your queen? And the answer there is c6. c6 puts pressure on the e4 pawn, and the reason that is so good for black is because after knight to g3 and white has to lift the rook, black then has a double attack on that piece, and at that point it's only defended by white's queen. But my opponent plays over here, bishop comes out, and there's just no good moves left here for black. Now all of a sudden we're in a position where I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pieces developed, and now he has 2. He's not going to be able to hold this attack. So I don't play the best move here, but I play a move that makes sense to me, which is getting the queen and the bishop on a diagonal. What this means is I'm essentially one move away from kicking black's knight, which is the defender of that square, and one pawn push away from potentially opening up this diagonal and getting a checkmate. Now black will still have f6 in that case, and we've got some things, but this was my understanding of the position. So he comes in with the knight. It's not time for me to just leave the rook. I probably pretty clearly could have just lifted the pawn here first, exposing the attack, but when you're up ahead this much, it really doesn't matter. You can still play conservative. And here comes an attack on the queen. So the whole purpose of this next move goes back to what I was hoping to do earlier in the game, which was get my knight out of the way, back when my queen was still on d1 and his knight was over here on that diagonal. Just get my knight out of the way and expose attack. So now I'm just returning to that same tactic, and I'm one knight move away from exposing an attack on his knight. So he pulls the queen back, and I take this opportunity to get castled, and castle is one of the best moves. Black takes the pawn. Black takes the pawn, and there's not even a check coming later on a1, and now his queen is 2 moves away from being able to hop over and defend on the king side, and that's going to be a problem. So we expose the attack on the knight. It only has 1 square. We bring another attack on the knight while simultaneously starting to pile up on this file, inducing the g3 weakness. This is important because now, after I chase the knight out of the way, I can get my queen up to f6, so that now he can't push f6, and now I can get into the position. And now, because his queen is hanging out down here on a2, he swings it back to try to have one last hope. And you can pause the video and try to find the winning move for white here that leads to mate in 4. And it's e6. It's e6. The only reason that it's mate in 4 and not mate in 2 is because black still has this check over here. So you decided to take with the knight. Taking with the knight was wise, because if I just play queen in here like you would for a normal checkmating pattern, the knight is still covering there, so we can't checkmate him that way. We have to checkmate him on h8. So just a little fun in the Vienna Gambit there, / bishop's opening. Some things that I did wrong, but I was able to capitalize on. And yet again, another opponent just completely ignoring their development. This bishop is still not only on its original home square, but also boxed in by 2 pawns. 2 pawns he completely failed to develop. And this is just not how you play chess. The way that you play chess is to get developed and make the best moves. So like and subscribe if you found this one useful. I hope it was fun for you Vienna players out there. Hopefully you got some good ideas of what to do, what not to do, and I'll catch you guys later.